You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I am here with Kate White. She's a trauma-aware embodiment guide, metaphysical artist, and founder of Body Odyssey, a sacred journey for visionary women ready to repattern their relationship with their bodies and reclaim them as portals of purpose and power. After decades as a teacher and principal, Kate found herself burnt out, disconnected from her body, and drowning in stories of shame. What began as a personal search for wholeness became a transformative method for others. Through her proprietary Embrace framework and I Adore painting process, Kate helps clients reconnect with their inner child, regulate their nervous system, and express buried truths through metaphysical painting and breath-led rituals. Her work is deeply intuitive, symbol-rich, and body-based, meeting clients where they are and gently guiding them home to themselves. Kate's podcast-friendly topics include joyful rebellion, intuitive creativity, and the path of sacred wholeness. Her free offering, Embrace Your Body Temple, is a creative sketchbook ritual to reconnect with the wisdom of the body and begin the repatterning process. Kate believes repatterning isn't about fixing what's broken, it's about reclaiming what's been buried. Through brushstrokes, breath, and brave embodiment, she helps others remember your body is not the problem, it's the portal. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
I absolutely love all of the modalities that you utilize to really come back into the body and find the wisdom of the body. I know I went over a lot of things, but can you tell us a little bit more about your work and how you came into it?
Yes, absolutely. So my journey began before I knew it was beginning. I was already on the path when I wasn't aware I was. In 2009, developed a blood clot in my brain. I developed another one in 2014, and I kept gaining weight. And my highest weight was over 300. I quit weighing after that point. And systems kept failing. My knees were in
Mm.
terrible shape. Obviously, carrying that weight was hard for it. My liver was not processing. I had a total hysterectomy, lost my gallbladder, lost my appendix, radiated my thyroid, and just it was this whole litany of things that just kept happening. I kept falling. I had an upper cervical condition where I would get dizzy and nearly pass out. And I was doing that as a principal.
Wow.
And that's why I left, because I realized after COVID, I could not go back in the conditions that were necessary and be wholly there for them. And what I realized after retiring is I was deeply connected to my ego, to the title of being principal, to the
Mm.
concept of being teacher. And I went into a deep, dark depression that it took me a couple of months to come out of, a couple of months in the bed under several blankets with velvet blackout curtains, keeping the light out, getting dressed only about 20, 30 minutes before my husband got home just to say I did it. Not feeding myself emotionally, physically, spiritually, figuratively, literally. And so that was the portal into, oh, we need to do something to remain here in this body on this earth. And when you get Facebooked by those magic little advertisements, one of them was a 21-day painting and meditation course. And I knew meditation was going to be my beginning portal home to me in my body. And so I joined that with Whitney Freya and we painted Tara for 21 days. The painting behind me is also a multi-layered piece of art, but Tara, you paint over the same canvas for 21 days.
Wow.
You go through a process of meditation in that. And so in that process, I began to understand that there was more to me than I was permitting myself to live. And I knew this because something you and I didn't talk about before. I grew up in a spiritualist home where we went to a spiritualist church, and so I had a deep connection to spirit. I know there's life after life. My father died when I was 4, and I've never lost that relationship with him unless I closed the doors on communication. And I did that for a time in my life when I was an angsty teenager. I think we all walk away from our parents during those times. It was just a little unique to walk away from one in spirit. Anyway, so that doorway back home, that doorway back within opened an awareness that I was broken in ways that my body was communicating with me and I was not listening. So each of those things that I described to you, each of those health issues were a message to me. And there are many more I didn't talk about, all the little things that happen. And each of those was a message for me. And when we say, I just can't stand this anymore, what are we going to do? We're going to start falling. We're going to start stumbling. We're going to start tripping. When we bottle things up in our head and we just keep those in and we don't communicate those things out, we're going to create conditions where perhaps blood clots can occur, where tightnesses in our body cause illness. When we're talking about, I can't bear this, I can't, our knees are going to give out. And so what started to realize was it was in my language, it was in my being, how I be in the world was manifesting itself through my body. And so I took some pretty drastic steps. I had a gastric sleeve surgery and I had a knee replacement in the past 2 years, 2.5 now. But before I did that, I started researching because I knew that if I lost weight and my husband started thinking I was hotter than I was before, if there was a we were more attracted to each other because I lost the weight, there was gonna be a part of me that I had lost that was gonna be lost in the relationship, and so I did some research, and what I found was that 70 to 90% of the people who go through a gastric surgery, gastric sleeve, gastric bypass, Roux-en-Y, any of those, ended up in split relationships or divorce, and I didn't want that for myself. So, between the painting and meditation and the I'm taking my body back, I'm going to be the one driving this vessel, I'm not going to just let life happen to me. I created Body Odyssey beginning there, and so, because I put myself through that program, and I've put myself through it. I'm on my 4th time through Body Odyssey now. Part of it, creating the program was created because I needed it to be created. And then once I created it, going through it as a participant because I needed it again. And I think it's one of those spiral things when we talk about the spiral and you go within on a journey and you can also travel outside and increase your awareness greater. And when you go in, you focus in on what's important on your within. And so that's the journey that Body Odyssey takes people on is that journey into listening to the messages that your body has for you, processing those messages through first being in your body, feeling your feet on the floor, breath work, taking the breaths you need to take to tell the nervous system that it's safe, movement, somatic movement, to again tell your body it's safe. And it can be something as simple as swaying, it can be shimmying and shaking, it can be turning on the music and dancing with it. But it is there for you to really truly realign and reignite a relationship with your inner cheerleader, develop a creative practice, and then put that out into the world as an expression. So I went beyond what your question was there.
Thank you for explaining that more. And I love that you I said that you're on your fourth time on this journey because I think a lot of us think we're going to go inward, we're going to find some stuff, we're going to have more awareness, and then we're going to be past that. But there's always new things to discover. And so we're always going to go inward, find the stuff, go outward, explore that, and eventually go back inward. And I think that's just like the steps of a lifetime. I think that's
It
our
is.
evolvement.
Think of a lotus, how a lotus starts as a little bud and then it flowers out into thousands of petals. And then when it's finished, it goes back within and creates the pod. and then the seeds fall and the journey begins again
Mm.
with that little bud and out. And that is our journey in life. And that's the mandala is like that. It's a lotus on the canvas. And it represents that journey within and without and in and out and around and through. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just we're never finished with this journey in this one body temple we chose to live in this life. I wholly believe we are divine beings choosing to have a human experience, and we chose this body.
Yeah.
And so we can cuss it all we want. We can be mad it's too thin, can't gain weight. I've been there in my youth. We can be mad that it's gaining weight too quickly, won't let it go. We can be mad that the knees hurt or the liver gave out or that we need to do something drastic. But truly, the body is here because we chose it. It's the car, it's the vehicle, it's the vessel we chose to live in this lifetime. And so we have to get to the point that we listen when the check engine light comes on in a vehicle. We've got to learn to listen to the messages that our body has. And it can be something as simple as stumbling, running into a wall. Stop and listen. Okay, what's the message? Are you hitting walls someplace else in your life?
Yeah.
Happening. So,
I like that you had mentioned that with how you're speaking, like, really pay attention to your speaking. I believe that thoughts have vibrations, they are energy. Our voice, what we're saying out loud has energy, and like you said, what came to my mind was that saying, "This is such a pain in the butt," and then you, like, have lower back pain or things like that.
yeah. Or you develop exocrine pancreatic insufficiency and there's a problem there. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Language. And I'm not saying that everybody who has a condition in their life that we need to go back and use blame, shame, or guilt. It's about awareness and looking to see, is there a message here? Or is this simply an anomaly or something that happened outside the realm? I believe that we can use it all as a lesson, but I don't think it's all a lesson that we necessarily earned. Someone who developed breast cancer, yes, it could be because they held something close to their heart. It also could be because their body, their genetics that they chose to inhabit in this body, their genetics were predisposed to that, and there were conditions that they lived around that they developed breast cancer. It has nothing to do with what they held in or what they held close to their chest or all of that. It's a question you can offer yourself, and if it's a no, then it's a no. A yes, then what can we release so that we release those toxins that we're holding? Because everything is energy, and if we're holding that energy in our body and holding it at that level you mentioned, vibration, at that frequency, there are frequencies of dis-ease that dis-ease creates in our body or is developed in our body, and so we wanna make sure that we're living at a higher frequency. That doesn't mean things won't still happen, but
Right.
we use those things as a way to live through them as a message to other people, if we so choose.
Yes, and thank you for saying that. I completely agree with that. I like to do chakra work, and so a lot of times I'm like, the chakras can hold a lot of information for you, and they can also store things and there can be things that are created in the body, but that doesn't always mean that it's you that's creating it. It could be hereditary. I
Right.
am somebody that believes that everything is a lesson in life, regardless of if it's something that you have held or if it's something that you're going through right now. I do think that life is just a constant lesson and learning experience. And I enjoy looking at it that way because it makes things for me easier to digest as well. Yeah. So,
And if we look at it that we chose to incarnate here on the earth, where it what spirit says about the earth is it is the hardest, quickest, fastest way to learn a lesson. So you incarnate on the earth. We could have incarnated someplace else in another planet, in another universe, in another happening, in another way. We could have chosen to stay in spirit to learn our lessons, but we chose the fast track. We chose to come down here where it's hard as hell to get through because we wanted to learn those lessons. And so if we can look at it that it's all a lesson, then we can simply go, check,
mhm,
mastered.
yeah.
And sometimes lessons are brought to us little by little. We get a little bit of a taste, and it's just like that, peeling an onion or pulling back the petals of a lotus. You learn a little bit more each time you go through it. And I always say that when I started my journey of becoming whole, and I don't use the term healing because healing so often to people indicates something is broken. My body healed, but I'm not healing myself. I'm healing my knee, I'm healing my stomach, I'm healing my liver, but I'm not healing my expression in this life because it's never broken. Always right where we're supposed to be. But when I started my journey, I was like this little fetal position, even the journey after retirement, in fetal position, literally in bed. And then I could lift my head, and then I could sit up a little, and then I could release my hands. And then I could start breathing again, and then maybe I sat up on the edge of the bed, and then I stood, and then I was stronger, and I was able to go through. But that spiral, each time around the spiral, I'm standing taller and embodying my life even stronger. And so by the time we're to the end of the lesson, that spiral comes through and we don't even know it's a lesson anymore because we've learned it. We've
Mhm.
experienced it. It doesn't have to nestle in our body or hold onto our clothing like a little burr.
Yeah.
It just walk through free.
Yes, I love that, and I like that you work with embodiment, and I feel that the body, and it sounds like you as well, is so wise, so capable, and when I've worked with clients that have said, "I can't lose weight, my body's this, my body's," and they shame their body so much, and it's hard for me because I'm just like, "You don't understand how amazing and capable your body is, and it's a machine that's going off of what is getting from you. It's what you're feeding it, and what you're and by feeding, exposing to it what you're thinking, what you're saying, and also what you're feeding, but it all comes full circle, and I think your work is brilliant, and I absolutely love the painting behind you. It's beautiful, and it's making me wanna take one of the classes.
Come play. It's all play. It's so much fun. And that's one of the things that people who haven't picked up a paintbrush in their life, I just let me own my own story. I was so afraid to pick up a paintbrush. When it said painting and meditation, I knew I could come in for the meditation part, but the painting part, I was like, I'll just watch the meditation part and I might try a little. Oh my gosh. When you're working with metaphysical painting, the symbols come to you and somehow the canvas speaks and tells you what it wants. And if you will just release and let your body, somehow whatever it wants comes out.
Wow.
And I haven't met a person who wasn't able to go, "Oh my gosh, I can paint. I can paint. I didn't know I could paint." And it's such a gift because the painting is part of the processing. What I've done with the R in my embrace process is reigniting, reawakening your relationship with your inner cheerleader. And so we experience our inner cheerleader together as a group in the course. And your inner cheerleader comes out with gifts and messages for you and is just there with pom poms and streamers and so happy that you exist and thankful for the journey you've taken and thankful for all the hell you put yourself through with the choices you thought were bad choices because it got you where you are today. And they're just there holding posters for you and bringing you symbols that then go on the canvas. And so it's all this big, fun playtime. It's not an, oh my God, what do I do? How do I make this come out on the canvas? It's all about symbols. And so if you look at the painting behind me, there are symbols upon symbols, the circles with the little seed in the middle. It's not coming full circle, but growing from within to without. There are trees of life on there. There are little messages of fire. There are just all kinds of symbolic messages that you put into the painting to bring forward to yourself. And it ends up being a message from you to you that every time you look at it, you remember this one is grace and play. And I've got another one that's joy. I've got another one that is sovereignty and be wild. And I've got another one that is still developing and I'm not sure what the message is going to be. And I've got a lotus that is like, you are in your enveloping, developing stage. Stay there, grow. We're here to support you. And so each one has a message and you don't ever forget the messages. And I don't ever forget the layers and layers that are underneath the final mandala there either. That you start with a layer of intentions. It's part of the I adore process.
I love that. It's so amazing, and what is so cool about it is you have this beautiful painting that you can put up, because I just thought that was something that you bought at, like, a art thing, and I was like, "Wow, that's beautiful," and so you have this piece that you can speak to from your heart, this beautiful piece to put in your home and see every day, so how cool is that?
The Post-it note on your mirror, it reminds you every time you see it.
Yeah, yeah. So in your journey, when did you realize you were playing small or maybe holding yourself back?
Yeah, that's interesting. So as a teacher, in those years, I really never felt that way.
Mm.
Raising my young children, I really never felt that way. It was when I got the big job and the big office with the big title that I felt like I was playing small. And I realized then, looking back over time, that I had been playing small all along. I just wasn't permitting myself to see it. And I really did not notice that until the first blood clot, which came 6 months into my first year as a principal. If you wanna take messages, my first day as a principal, the first day kindergartners came, first day my poor K through 5 kids came, we had a fire in the building, a literal fire in the boiler room, and we had to evacuate during kindergarten lunch.
Oh my gosh.
So, I said my whole life, "I'll never be a teacher, I'll never be a teacher, I'll never be a teacher," and what I end up doing for 30 years was being in education. I also said I'd never understand kindergartners, I'll never teach kindergarten, I'll never understand kindergarten, and that day I had to embody understanding what a kindergartner needed when they were ripped away from their parents, first of all, many of them for the first time ever, and then ripped away from their lunch, which was what they know about life, right? Some of them brought their own special lunch, and then being outside for 2 hours while the fire department comes and what's the symbolic message of a fire on your first day as a principal? It's probably gonna be a pretty fiery relationship you have. And so, it was a trial by fire and learning in that time that I was not living up to my full potential, and it took the second blood clot 5 years later for me to actually get it. So 2014, so 11 years ago, I
Wow.
really realized that for all those years of my life, 47, had been playing small and had not been living whole. And honestly, that unraveling and that unfurling, I realize it more and more every day. Just 4 weeks ago, I fell at the beach and realized that I had been running from the title teacher. And I wanted to run and say, I'm an artist, I'm an artist, I'm an artist, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, but teacher, I didn't want to say teacher, but I am a teacher and I am always going to be a teacher. And that fall helped me reclaim that I had been carrying this big bundle, literally and figuratively, of all of these things I wanted to get done. But the most important thing was in my heart. And that in my heart is, let's slow down and be a teacher. Let's
Oh, I
just slow
love it.
down and own the being a teacher. So even just a few weeks ago, I'm realizing more and more that once you start the journey of recognizing and opening your heart, it just continues to open and teach you more and more so that you can live more fully in your life.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, it's isn't it funny how we can run from something or say, "We're not really that," even if we had the title, and then finally it smacks us. Like, I have a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that are like, "Oh, I'm not good at sales," and I'm like, "You're selling yourself every day." Like, you might not be selling your product the way that you think that you want to show up and sell it, but we're literally all salespeople. We're selling ourselves to people every day. And yeah, it's funny when you look at things in a different manner, how it can show up.
Yeah. And somebody said something to me, I don't know, in the last few years of teaching about walking into classrooms and making observations that once you see something, you can never unsee it. And that lesson has stuck with me through this embodiment journey is once you notice something, once you realize that refined sugar is a problem to you and your body, you can't unknow that. This morning, going out to breakfast with my precious 94-year-old friend, I take my creamer with me everywhere. My creamer's what? Cane sugar and cream. This morning, I whipped out the half and made it with honey and took it because while I prefer next time to try dates, we'll see about rinsing dates and using dates because I think they're probably healthier for you than honey. At least I didn't use the refined sugar in my coffee. I'll get away from using as much.
Yeah.
But once you see it, you can't put that in your coffee and not know, "Oh, I'm about to poison my body."
Well, and it's the same with when you start becoming more aware. I was doing a talk on DEI a couple weeks ago, and people were like, "What if I have a bias and I figure it out like after the fact I've been told, but I already said the thing and now I'm feeling bad about it." And I'm like, "No, that's when you want to be like proud of yourself because you've developed that awareness and that is the first step of catching yourself in action. And you're going to have awareness after the fact a lot. So you don't want to beat yourself up over it. You want to applaud yourself. But
Yes.
the more you do it, the more you're going to do it in the action as you're doing it, and like you said, once you become aware, you're just gonna start picking up and noticing it so much more.
Yes, and so that version of me, I'll use that version instead of the DEI, but apply it to the DEI story. That version of me 6 hours ago who went, "Oh, I don't wanna have that sugar anymore," or, "I'm gonna put that sugar in my coffee," and the one right after, the one who was gonna put sugar in my coffee is so grateful to me and is cheering me on with pom-poms and streamers and saying, "Go you, you did that for us. I love that you're on this journey. I love that you learned that." So even that person who made that decision, in the moment they said it, that version of them is now grateful to them for learning the lesson and being willing now to live in a different way
Yeah,
and to do reparations if that is something they feel empowered to do.
right, yeah. So on your journey, what part do you feel like you or is there a part of you that you felt you had to let go of in order to become more of who you are today?
I had to let go of the ego. I had to have the term ego death. I didn't understand that. And honestly, I talk to dead people, but I question muscle testing. I talk to dead people, but I question foo-foo, chakra stuff. I talk to dead people, but I don't believe in ego death. And ego death doesn't mean that it literally has to die. It simply means that it has to fade away and go to the background, like your plants outside have to die and go away so that they can nurture other things. But I was very attached to the term principal and the term teacher. I was very attached to being the one who had all the answers. I was very attached to being the one when I fell down the steps a few weeks ago, to being the one who was carrying down everybody's lunches, to the one who provides. And so I'm continually on that journey of letting go old pattern that doesn't serve me anymore. And the biggest one, the biggest hit, the biggest, "Oh my god, I didn't know, forgive me, I didn't know," was how attached I was to that title of principal, that
Mm,
title of teacher. And I say forgive me to myself, not to an entity that I believe is harming me or putting me in a place of retribution. I say forgive me because I haven't unpacked everything that I experienced, like your conversation with the person with DEI. What did I say and do while I was wearing that armor of being a principal that the version of me today would never say or do and would like to go back and roll back what was said or to reframe or rephrase for someone? Proud of a lot of the things I did because I did do it. I led with my heart. But the title did get in the way sometimes, and so that part of me, that part of that title, I had to let go.
I love that you mentioned that because I literally have 3 things, and I was writing them down the other day because I keep saying them, and I'm like, "I wanna make sure I'm documenting this." But I do have 3, like, goals that I've been working on within the mindset, and one of them is recognizing my ego when it comes out and really understanding it, being curious, non-judgmental, and understanding that aspect, but not letting it consume me. And I think that, like you said, ego death isn't like I'm free from it and I don't have any of these experiences anymore. I don't know if that would ever happen for me, honestly. And the people that maybe have experience, I even think that like monks and Buddhists, I think that they also have these things come up in their head. They just
They say
know
they
how
do.
to.
Yes, and that's I love that reference because even the people who are on the mountaintop experience that. The other one was people pleasing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm still a recovering people pleaser. It's that was carrying the lunches down. I wanted to be the one who
Mhm. Uh,
recognized for being the provider. I like
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
like it. So,
I can definitely relate to all of that stuff. But yeah, so I think that it's great to work on the awareness of that and to understand, like, and be on that journey, I should say, because it's always a journey. And I think I've said this multiple times on my podcast, but I used to think when I first started more of an awareness and I got into mindset and I was like, "Oh, once I understand all of these things, I'm gonna be, like, free from it forever." And the more that you're on the journey, the more you realize you're never free from it, but you can always reframe it. You can
yep.
always, like, process it and then move on, and I think that's the part that trips some people up is the moving on part because you can get really I can get really into, like, my ego and what does it mean and get all and I'm like in this space that I'm not really growing anymore. I'm like hyper understanding it or hyper picking at it.
Yes. Oh, I love that you said that. That's been out there in my field, but I've not been able to put words to it. That does it right there. When you become hyper aware of what you're doing and what it means or what the outside world says about it, and you're not letting it soak in. Like you've hardened with this hyper awareness, and we need to let that shell fall away so that the lesson can be integrated.
Yes,
Love
yes.
that. Thank you.
Yes, and I've been really working on that piece of just and I personally I don't really like the term of radical shadow acceptance work, but I feel like that's part of letting that go is because if I'm not accepting and I'm not allowing, I'm micro focusing on that aspect. Whether I'm like being curious and not really judging, but there's a part of my brain that's actually judging it. That's why I'm so focused.
So the term radical, I've just in the past year published a chapter in Radical Freedom, a book that is I think 101 other authors contributed to. And I had the same, I don't know, discomfort with the word radical until I integrated that term, broke the shell and let that soak in. And I became radically free once I understood that I was on a body odyssey. And then we just are about to release the next book, Radical Courage. And that radical courage has been me stepping forward. And I didn't talk about this in my chapter, but me stepping forward in talking about spiritualism, metaphysical religion, and the fact that I talk to dead people because that was something that was mom when I was a principal. We didn't talk about those things. And then just being willing to step forward in that teacher mindset and allow that archetype to help me do the work that I'm doing. And the courage isn't in doing that. The courage is in letting down the armor and being willing to be vulnerable in being that way and in leading that way and in leading with the mindset of one who teaches others and allow that to come forward again. I've had to do some radical resistance work with just the term radical.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be a radical. That means an extremist. That means someone who's far outside the realm of what I want to be, but it doesn't, right? It's like you said, the radical shadow work is I know that's a movement and that's a group that's or a modality of healing or of coming to wholeness.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, we're in Body Odyssey, we're doing it a lot more gently and with pom-poms and streamers. So
Yeah. I love that. So you had mentioned being like psychic. What do you utilize that in your programs, or is that just something that you keep to yourself?
and so the you didn't hear me say the term psychic, but that
Oh,
is
sorry.
no, I'm saying that because that's another place I probably need to do some work and allow that term to be used for myself. Allow that. I've said that I have the gift of inner sight. How's that different from being psychic? Not really sure. So, I have used my psychic abilities in knowing how the lesson should move, in allowing myself to make invitations to people based on what I'm hearing, and I have clairaudience and clairsentience. So, clairaudience is you hear things, and clairsentience is you feel them. And so I get a feeling in here about things, and I'll just say them and allow them to come out. And sometimes they land, and sometimes they land where I knew they were going to land because I got that push or pull. And sometimes they land on a completely different person. Somebody else picks it up and says it. And so I know that it's going to land. I don't always know specifically where. And so I do, yes, use it in my one-on-ones with people. I use it in our group coaching, and I use it after I've had the initial course, the initial class. Each course, each time I go through it, it changes and shifts a little bit, but we're using the same foundation each time we go through it. When I design the course, I design it with the group in mind, both with what I know teaching wise needs to be designed, but what I know spirit has said about this group of people and where they need to grow. Yes, that's part of it, but I won't ever put that in the advertisement because I just don't know how it's going to come out. I don't know how it's going to manifest itself, but I know
Yeah.
it's there.
Oh.
That's a gift that is developing as well.
Oh, I love it. I do Reiki as well. And I always the only I know Claire audience or whatever that I'm like, okay, that's easy. But I always get tripped up on the clairs. But and I think you said Claire sentience.
Sentience is that feeling, that sensing.
Okay.
Clairsentient is sensing, feeling, and sometimes it's literal feel things buzz, and sometimes it's that I feel it in my heart, in my head, somewhere along the chakra line, and I'll get hits at chakra levels and know that I need to be working in the solar plexus in the area of creativity, in the area of ego, or I'll get it in the root chakra or whatever, I'll get those senses there.
Okay.
And then I hear things and I hear them here, but I also get things dropped in from the top that somehow feel like I heard them. Like I don't hear them with my ears, I hear them with my ethereal ears.
Yeah.
And then clairvoyance is vision. And
That's
so
the
the
one that I want to develop.
I know, me too. Me too. There's a term apport. Do you know the term apport? So apporting is when spirit moves a physical object from one spot to another.
Okay.
So if you apport things, some people apport crystals and they just sometimes just drop right into your hand. Or my mother was mowing the lawn and crystals just fell on her head from nowhere.
Wow.
I find dimes. So I believe those are apported because I walk a space in my home and there was no dime there. And I pass it again 2 hours later. Nobody else is in the house with me, and there's a dime there now. And so I use that apport as a message as well. It's when I find dimes, I know that my father's with me, and he's telling me I'm on the right path. I found a little play dime, just a plastic play dime in the hallway when I was dropping my students off to gym and I was rushing to go interview to be a principal. I found a play dime on the floor before I left. I take it. I
Yeah.
keep it. It's in my miracle jar. That's just another it's not a clair, but it's a you manifest things and they use your energy to move the things from one place to another. So if you're someone who finds dimes, their spirit is doing that with your energy.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can feel things in my body when I'm doing the Reiki. I usually can grab that person's energy pretty quickly and understand what's going on, like, emotionally. And
Beautiful.
then I've had it where I can, like, see words in my head. Like they'll just pop in.
Yes.
But yeah,
So you're
the
saying that's a clairvoyant thing. That's not how things go. And things are never so when you see those words, like if I get the feeling or the thought of a mint plant, I see a mint plant or I smell mint. I don't know what clear, that's a clear too, but I don't know the term. Anyway, if I smell mint or I see a picture of a mint leaf, I'm going to look at what does mint mean in my life. I'm not going to look at what does the greater world think mint is because spirit is talking to me personally. And so when you see those words, look for what those words mean to you to help determine the message, to determine how to say. So if I saw mint or smelled mint, I might say to someone, I'm getting the sense of a mint plant, and a mint plant to me means refreshing. It means new growth. It means persistence because you can't kill a mint plant when it's grown outside. It's you pull it, it's back the next year. So that persistence. So I might look for where does the feeling of is it refreshing? Is it new growth? Is it persistence? In my gut then, or in my solar plexus and go with that. So a mint plant to me, one of its meanings to me is perseverance. And I really think maybe there's something coming up that you might think you're going to pull out of, but I think spirit's asking you to stick with it, to persevere, to go with it and turning that into a message based on what your experience with mint is. Somebody else might say, that it's a menthol cigarette or
yeah.
candy or whatever their experience is, but mine is with the plant itself. So anyway, that was a
Yeah.
tangent. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's awesome. And that is how I usually when I'm doing Reiki, that when I get words, it's actually says like spleen or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
actually like a body part that I usually
Yes.
see in my head.
Yes.
But when I understand what you're saying, because when I pick up stuff on emotionally or physically in my body, I am relating it to how I think it feels. And then I'll express it to them and say, if it means something different to you, that could be different,
Right.
but this is how I'm interpreting it. So I love that you mentioned that, especially when people maybe think that they're unsure of what they're picking up or what they're getting. So I think that's a good elaboration for the listeners. So, what advice would you give to somebody that's maybe on this journey of coming in and developing more of their growth or understanding, like, hey, I've been playing small? Is there some bit of advice that you give to somebody that's just like tipping that? I feel like when you're in that part, you're like, oh, wow, I could. But then there's that other part of your brain, that ego part that's, are you sure?
Here. And so often when we don't do things in life, when we have an opportunity before us and we close the door on that opportunity, we're often closing off a part of ourselves that is feeling fear. And so my advice would be for someone to understand that there are only two real energetic feelings in the world, and one is fear and one is love. You can classify anger, grief, doubt, all as fear. You can classify joy, enthusiasm as love. So really it comes down to two things. And I would recommend that someone who's in that space of having been fearful ask, what would love say? What would love do? How would love respond to this? And allow that feeling, oh, I've got chills. Allow that feeling to well up from whatever part of your chakra system, from your body, from your past, from generations past, from generations forward. What would the generations forward look at? How would they see this having been dealt with as love? What would that look like? And then step into love.
Oh, such great advice.
That
And
was that was channeled through. That was not something that I would have said an hour. Yes, I believe that, but that was channeled through for this experience.
I love that because I love that it's not a complicated answer. And you can maybe make it complicated, but really when you look at it in that simplistic like way of how would love show up in this space? What would love do? What would love say? Wherever you're at in whatever thing that you're facing. I think that is amazing advice, and it is something that everybody can do right now. So when you're feeling disconnected or maybe not in the best spirits, what do you do to realign?
The first thing I do is head to the canvas because I know that my creative practice involves the canvas. It involves me getting things out in a positive way. And so the first layer of any canvas is always your intentions, it's always your positives. The second layer is the layer of alchemy. And what I do to alchemize is I let all the negative out on a piece of paper. I don't put it on my canvas in writing because I can still see the words that are
Mhm.
behind my canvas in my mind. I never want that to be what I use. So I dump that out onto a piece of paper and then I alchemize it. I either burn it, I wet it down, I tear it into pieces, and then it goes onto the canvas after I've gone through a process of understanding that those obstacles, I look for one on there, one on the list that I've already overcome because there's always something that pops out. All the fear comes out on the paper. The fear of not being liked, the fear of not being received well, the fear of not performing well, the fear of not enough time, not enough money, whatever. I know that I have performed well in a role here. I know I was a great teacher. So I can borrow my success from that and apply it to all of those others because I did it for this. I know I can do it for all of these things too. Then I burn it and then it goes on the canvas because I have the power behind it. And then I start with the disruption layer where I just get on and that this area here is disruption, where I
Okay.
just got on and got rid of the white canvas. I just put paint on the canvas in all kinds of crazy ways to just get over the fear of a white canvas because a white canvas can be scary. And then I look for a symbol, and there's always a symbol that comes through, whether it's from spirit, whether it's from my inner knowing, whether it's from a cheerleader that spoke to me, one of my inner cheerleaders, my 7-year-old cheerleader, or my 14-year-old cheerleader, or my 57-year-old cheerleader, or my 58-year-old cheerleader. There's always a message, and then that symbol goes onto the canvas, and that is a release, that is a body release that I can do inside of 45 minutes. And I can do it faster, I can do it a heck of a lot faster if I'm not painting the symbol out, if I just capture the symbol. It can be a 20-minute experience to get all of that out and find the symbol, and then come back and paint the symbol later and bring the revelation out later.
Yeah. Awesome. I love you're making me wanna paint so much. This is awesome.
I will play with you. We can play and you can get a feel for it, and so that is I'm so grateful to Whitney Freya for opening the door to me to this practice. And then, recognizing that I had something that maybe the world might want to hear in Body Odyssey because it's really helped me understand that the creative practice is where it's at.
Mhm.
Yes, all of the other stuff is essential for repatterning your brain, for creating new neural pathways, for actually impacting your own life and making change for yourself. But the I adore process can be a 20-minute process. That creative practice is there for me. And often I will future cast. I will become my 63-year-old self and tell myself today what I'm grateful for, because then I'm future casting that out and I know that I'm going to get there because it's already planted. It's a seed I planted in the future.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what does unleashed and aligned mean to you personally?
I love that term. When I heard it, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. That is such a gorgeous name. It is such a gorgeous concept." Unleashed is taking off the tethers, taking off the ties that bind, taking off the cloaks. I talk a lot in my practice about cloaks, that we put cloaks on to cover ourselves and hide ourselves, and transforming them into capes, and you can't do that unless you've taken that cape, those ropes off, those whatever ties that bind you. So unleashed is allowing that inner blossom to come out and begin blooming. And then aligned, oh my gosh, alignment is the A in embrace. And aligned for me is as within, so without, as above, so below, mind, body, and spirit all doing the same thing and headed in the same direction instead of the times in my life, and I'm sure in yours too, and your listeners, where our mind's one place, our body's another, and our spirit is a completely different place. And we've created this triangulation that is these are tuning forks that are not of the same frequency. We're not operating the same frequency with
Mhm.
this thing. So alignment is coming to that same frequency together and with your mind, body, and spirit.
I love the way you said
And
that.
and with
Amazing.
your community. And with your community, right? You and I being aligned in thought. That's part of it, is existing at the same frequency.
Yes, yes. Kate, this has been so amazing. If there's any last things that you maybe want the listeners to know or share, feel free, whatever you're led to say before.
Right. I do have a gift for your listeners, if that's okay to offer
Yeah.
them. All right. That is going to be at podcast.eversokate.com, and I'll send you that link so you can share that with them. But that is just a gift that I offer to your podcast listener. It's to embrace their lives, and it's just a little sketchbook kind of experience. But basically, my closing would be I don't teach people how to paint. I teach them how to listen to their bodies through paint, and that you're not broken. Your body's not broken. Your body is a sacred oracle. It is a sacred truth teller. And it's always been whispering to you, and it will continue to do. Sometimes it screams, but it's always whispering to you, and just developing a practice where you learn to listen to your body is really a gift that you can give yourself, whatever method you choose to use. But just to understand that this body is not an enemy and it's not a savior. It's a vessel and a vehicle, and it's a beautiful temple that we chose to live in. And just if I can empower people to just do that from listening to this, just to start listening to the messages that come to you, that in itself will change your life.
No, I could not agree more. I feel like we're so aligned with the way we, coach and teach people and what we're trying to get out into the world. And I absolutely love the way you do it. It sounds amazing. Thank you so much for the gift for the listeners. And we will see you back on the podcast.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thank you. Hey, if you're craving a space that expands your awareness, sinks you deeper into love, and holds you as you move through stuck emotions, come join me inside my Unleashed and Aligned community. You do not have to do this work alone. This community is here to support you. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who needs it. And leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit.